Good Tuesday to you, everybody in Com 785. Welcome to week boom 2. How you doing? Everybody hanging in there. Thank you so very much for completing the participation week 1 quiz. I think everybody participated and got in there. Thank you much. So to get this week started, let's get things started right with a little afternoon espresso. By the way, this drink, espresso, takes its name from the Italian verb espressare, which means to push, because the water is pushed through the coffee grounds. It is not espresso, as in quick, meaning how it's made or how you drink it, although you can drink it very quickly. And here too, do you see this? Isn't this cute? This is a little spoon from a set of little spoons that I picked up while hiking through the south of France once. And French was my second language, and one of the first country that I studied in besides the United States. And even the name for spoon is enduring, crière. So this is une petite crière, a little spoon. Isn't that a nice word, crière? Oh no. Okay. Enough about my culinary habits. Let's get to this week's material and then take a look at what you did last week. Okay, so coming up for week 2, we've got readings. Now you're going to start reading in Cialdini's Persuasion. Okay, notice not persuasion, persuasion, how to persuade people before you actually persuade them. You'll be back in Wilson. And then you're going to bust into this work by Van and Lang, etc., the communication strategy books. As I mentioned in week 1, I definitely would hold on to the Cialdini books. These things will serve you well throughout your career. The Wilson book is good. This one is a little harder to sort of tease out, but this one I use, but not as frequently as I use the other 3. Okay, so we're going to be doing some readings in there, and then I posted in the assignment section of Canvas the sheet for your group semester proposal project. Right, there are 2 due dates for this project. One is during our time together in Regent, and I'll send out video. I'll send out information about the wheres and whys. You just plan to be in class from June 11th to June 13th, and typically, it used to run a whole week. It used to run 5 days, and then they squished it down into 3. And so they ask us to have you in class from something ridiculous like 8 to 5. I don't know that we're going to be in class from 8 to 5, maybe, like 9. Okay. But so a typical day will begin in the morning. Everybody get there 8:30 with coffee, etc. We'll get jamming by 9 o'clock. And then we'll set 5 at a cutoff point. But if we end earlier, 3-ish, 4-ish, out you go. All right. But we'll have a break for lunch, but we will be in class during that time, and this is required for the course. Okay, so go over to the assignment section, look for the semester proposal project. All right, and this is going to tell you that you need to break into groups of 3 or more, and if there's some folks left over, then jump into more. Okay, so we have a group of 4. Okay, and you get to pick, what would you like to work on this semester? Would you like to create a proposal for public relations, for marketing, or for a plan for a not-for-profit? All right. And you might be saying, whoa, slow the roll. I don't know anything about this. That's okay. There are resources in your textbooks that you can reference, and I'm fine. If you go to your Wilson strategy book, there's a whole bunch of resources to how to put these things together. And I'm fine with you pulling things off the internet. Make sure that you find reputable sources, and no AI. Now, within industry, AI is being used commonly, okay? But I want you to acquire the knowledge that comes from laying out and making sure you have all of the elements of a plan before you have something else do it for you. All right. So you really should have that. Okay. So we have two due dates. One is during the residency program, June 11th to 13th, and then the other one is at the end of the semester, August 9th. All right. If you any questions about this assignment, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact me. But that's one of the things on your to-do list, really important this week, is I need to have, you need to tell me who's in what team by the beginning of next week, May 26th. And I'll put up a link. I think I'll put up in the assignment section. Not sure. I'll put up a link in Canvas where you can go and list your team, so everybody knows who's working on what. Okay, so that's what's coming up for this week. Okay, let's take a look at what we did last week, the readings and the questions. I gave you a real diverse bunch of readings, that is from different sources, some from your textbook, some from the internet. I'll continue to sort of sprinkle those in as we go throughout the semester. All right, but mostly we'll focus on your textbooks. Okay, because we've got a lot. We have a lot to look out there. And as far as these discussion question goes, make sure that you're responding to your classmates. That's probably the part of discussion questions where I see people leave points on the table is they just don't make comments, and that you do it within the time frame, not like 3 weeks later. All right. And for the examinations in this class, midterm and the final, the information for those exams or the questions will be drawn from the discussions and from the material that you read. So if you keep up on the discussions and you digest the material, you're going to be fine. Okay. Question number 1, according to a survey cited by Wilson et al., which two voices of authority does the public trust most? If the survey findings are valid, what implications do they have for you as a developing communication professional? Okay, let's see. Kamisha. And if I pronounce anybody's name wrong, let me know in an email. You are last. Let's take you first. According to the survey started by Wilson et al., two voices of authority most trusted by the public are business leaders and or local peer figures. Not exactly. Now, by the way, if I correct an answer, I'm not picking on the person. All right. We're drilling down on the information on the process. There at least from the publication of this text. This is 2018. Now this could change, and I'm more interested that you become aware of methodology. That is, if we're going to put together a PR campaign, what sort of representatives do we need to have by way of trustworthiness? Okay, so this could have changed. Okay, but what do we know? On page 6, you look at page 6 and you get this little chart. Who do we trust? Who do we not trust? And the ones that are trusted the most are technical and academic experts. Okay. The findings suggest that most trusted shifted to top-down sources, industrial leaders, mainstream media. Okay. No, technical and academic experts are the ones listed. Okay. So Cynthia, according to the survey cited by Wilson et al., two voices of authority, public trust most are technical and academic experts, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Well, what does this mean to you? As a developing communication professional, the conclusion that can be drawn from these results I must work diligently to ensure accuracy in my work and present well-supported information to build credibility to prove expertise. Okay, excellent. Now, bear this in mind, whichever of those categories you're looking at, the trust that's afforded to them comes largely because of the narrowness of the gap between what they say is going on and what goes on. As that gap gets larger, say, for instance, government officials, which rank way down at the bottom, I had to look again, but, surprise. As that gap gets larger, so too the public trust, the public distrust gets larger. So yes, you are exactly right that you can be afforded trust by the public, or if you're doing a PR campaign, those who are representing and presenting your campaign can be afforded the trust. But if they don't, if there's not a follow through from what they say and what actually is, you'll lose that trust. Okay, be aware of that. Okay, question number 2. After reading the summary of Green's book, The 48 Laws of Power, and I give you a link, and I again apologize for all the ads. And then the review of Green's book. Okay, what's your opinion of Green's approach to communication and human relations? Is he, as he claimed in an interview with Dr. Jordan Peterson, you can look that up and watch that, just keeping it real? That's his words. I would never use that. Or is there something more nefarious going on? Now, why, you might be wondering, did I give you this book? I will tell you that in just a jiffy. Okay. Let's take a look at your answers. So Valerie, you went last. Let's take you first. 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene was a revelatory and disquieting experience to listen to. The full audiobook was available for free on YouTube. Oh, okay. However, I was immediately taken aback by an unexpected feature. A suicide prevention hotline was displayed alongside the video. Yeah, I read that in your answer, Valerie, and I'm like, wow. Now that could just be algorithm, peculiarities. Like you look up in the sky and a cloud looks like a puppy. It doesn't mean there's a puppy in the sky, but it could be the algorithm figuring out that people that gravitate towards this book tend to be psychologically, mentally unstable. I don't know. I was repeatedly asked to affirm that I wish to continue listening. This indicates that the platform itself acknowledges the content potential to distressing effects, although Green's work provides insightful perspectives on power and influence. It also conveys a psychological weight that prompts ethical inquiries regarding the reception and potential implications of such strategies in real life. Yeah. Powell emphasizes the book's focus on control and self-interest, implying that Green's rules often promote deception, exploitation, emotional detachment. While Green professes to be describing how power works, his tone and presentation indicate a normative position, urging readers to use his method and success strategies. Yeah, he's up to something else. He's trying to sell books. Exactly. Green's work may help academics understand the darker side of power and influence. However, communication professionals must view his ideas skeptically. Ethical communication grounded in transparency, respect, relational accountability is essential in a democratic and organizational context. Adopting Green's concepts without ethical thinking risks jeopardizing trust, trustworthiness, long-term relationships. Exactly. And even worse still, I mean, Green's vision of how things work is like Machiavelli. It's extremely selfish and self-serving. Now, yes, of course, because we're fallen creatures. We're subject. We are the descendants of original sin. There's fault in our stars. But amplifying that fault to the detriment of others and to the benefit of oneself is not the solution. Not at all. Okay. Let's see. What did somebody else have to say? Jennifer, did we do you already? Okay, let's see. Let me sure we did you already too. Read you already. Acacia, did I get that right? If I didn't, please let me know. After reviewing the summary of Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, I believe Greene's approach to communication and human relations is intensely pragmatic, often manipulative, and focused on controlling and influencing others to gain power. Good point, which leads us into why did you give me this book? You might be saying, Dr. Gardner, because after you watch The Century of the Self Part 1, The Happiness Machine, which introduces to you the figure of Edward Bernays, you need to be aware of communication professionals, especially if you're going to go into the PR field, that the Bernaysian tactics that this fellow unleashed, hence the name, are alive and well. They've just been repackaged and repurposed by guys by the name of Green. Okay, so I mean, I even go so far as to argue that we as communication professionals have a debt that we need to address, that we as professionals unleashed on the public, a process by which there is the institutionalization, that is the actual creation of entities to study, catalog, and then this is the worst part, manipulate human behavior. Now, yes, of course, we need a cooperative society. I mean, and I've been, one of the eye openers for me, and having traveled and worked in so many countries, and I've worked in several. I've been in and out of some sort of time in something like 27. One of the peculiarities to me is there's a contrast here in the United States. We like to say that we're rugged and highly individualistic. I'm going to make the opposite claim. No, we're not. One of the reasons that we've worked well as society is that we cooperate and conform to established norms. And there is a core of our behavior that is repetitive amongst the citizenry. Everybody is not running around doing their own thing. I've been in societies in which people are running around doing their own thing, and they're chaos. I mean, people don't show up on time, things don't get done, things don't get open, things don't get manufactured. Water's not clean, the food is not prepared, the lights aren't on. I mean, it's havoc. And then those sorts of outcomes of people doing their own thing compounds the problems of people not being able to do the same thing at the same time. One of the geniuses that we have as Americans is working together. We should emphasize that. Okay. So there's a certain amount of cooperation that's good. But the deliberate manipulation, especially for the purpose, this, when you now switch it to the question on Bernays, to the purpose of selling this product or process. Okay, now you're getting into very ethically shaky grounds, if not just flat out diabolical. Okay, so what was it that Ewan, who wrote a great book called PR: The History of Spin, you should look at that, said it's not the people that are in charge, it's the people's desires that are in charge. What did he mean by that? Benjamin, when Ewan said it's not the people that are, he means that modern democracy is no longer guided by rational citizens, but by consumers whose subconscious wants are being manipulated by politicians and other power players to maintain control. In some sense, this turns citizens into consumers and public discourse into marketplace of feelings rather than marketplace of ideas. How succinctly put. That is just excellent. There's really not much more that could be added to that. This is a problem for our modern democracy. Okay. Because the expression of the citizen as consumer, subject to the whims of the producer, is unstable because it's ever changing. Once a market is saturated, once a product is excuse me, choking on my own coffee here, thoroughly distributed, something new or some new variation of the thing has to be introduced in order to maintain the profitability of the company, and then the public's attention is refocused. The net effect tends to be that we spend more and more time focusing attention on the consumption of the new thing and not on the consideration of the idea. I mean, and we've become so conditioned to it, I don't even think we realize it. But this week, for instance, gather your news from let's say, just go onto YouTube and click on the news tab, right? And whatever it is that interests you, whether it's politics or, technology, and watch to see the types and the frequency of ads, especially, almost obligatory before the video and then sometimes in the video. Are they ads whose product is a part of the process, or whose process is a part of the process that you're watching? So for instance, if you're watching, say, something from a congressional hearing, because there's been a whole lot of them. There's been a budget hearing on Health and Human Services. There's been an oversight hearing on Homeland Security. There's been some questioning to the head of the FBI. There's a lot going on. Are these ads by organizations that encourage citizens to vote, that say, this is why it's important to be informed as a citizen, and here's how you get your news? Or are they, and I'm not saying those will be wholly absent, but take account so you get a sense. Or are they, Amazon Pictures lets you categorize your memories and put them at the attention, or something about Hello Fresh meals, or why you should rent an Airbnb as opposed to a hotel room, or on and on and on and on and on. Consumption focused by way of product and process, and not the process of what's going on in the bloody video. For every individual and then collectively within the citizenry, there's only so much juice in the attention battery, in the emotional battery. And then people are tuning out. And so the question becomes, what part of the presentation are they tuning out? Certainly, there's a lot of tune out where the ad is concerned, and ad producers know this is called breaking through the static. Okay. But likewise, does this desensitize the attention span of the viewer to the critical issue? Or if the issue is not presented with sufficient emotional energy, so everything becomes a crisis? This is not good. Okay? Not good. Question number 4. Explain why Ewan characterized Bernays' views of democracy as palliative. All right? That's like, ooh. Okay? I mean, palliative, he described as some sort of a psychotropic. Ewan characterized, Natalie, let's take you. Ewan characterized Bernays' view of democracy as palliative due to the way that Bernays, as a leader, showed how he wanted to help people in the economy after the mess of many wars, trials, tribulations had gone on. And I've not read any of your answers before, and so if I'm sort of trying to get it as I go along, that might be my mistake. Left many people were yearning for such a way of better life. This led Bernays' idea to create more avenues to make more money. Sort of. Okay, let's see. Catherine Adams. Ewan explained Bernays' views of democracy as palliative because it changed the concept of democracy, one in which people actively participated in changing the power structures that ruled the world for many years, to a process of stimulating the psychological lives of the public, specifically intentionally to maintain those long-held power structures. Exactly. In other words, what Bernays does is he tweaks what it means to be a participant in democracy, from examining the power structures to just consuming and being happy and not making any waves. A palliative is something that just keeps you comfortable. Okay, this is Ewan's description of him. Okay, but I think it's an accurate one. Okay. All right, folks, I always try to keep these things around 20 minutes. We're about 3 minutes long. All right, get into groups. So decide on what you want to do. If you got any questions about how to do it, let me know. I'll put up a link. I'll put the questions for this week's readings up probably Wednesday or Thursday. Remember, I said in video 1, sometimes I don't put questions because I want you to focus on the readings, not just the questions. Okay, everybody have a great week, and I will see you on Canvas. God bless, and bye-bye.